Hello and welcome to another Steps of Sussex live chat. It is the 18th of October 2020, and let me just adjust this camera because I think it's a little bit too high. There we go. I'm hoping that you can all see me and hear me clearly. In this video, to be honest, I wanted to come on today and to do a live chat, but I felt like one of the previous live chats that I did was really useful to a lot of people, in that you could literally ask me anything. So I decided to do another one of those chats. So if you're watching on catch up, unfortunately you will not be able to participate in the live stream chat, but if you do have a question for me that you want me to address in an upcoming video, then please just leave a comment in the comment section. But I can see people dropping in already. Hello to Danielle. No, Damali. Do you know what? I need my glasses. Damali, Sean K and Christine, hello to you all. Like I say, I'm just inviting people to ask me questions. Kaneta has just dropped in. So basically this chat is just kind of led by you guys. It's anything that you want to talk about, that you want to know about with regards to Harry and Meghan. One of the things I am going to speak about right away at the very top of all of this is obviously the upcoming Time 100 talks, which I do believe is going to will be available on Tuesday. Now, this coincides with a new set of photographs. One main photograph of Harry and Meghan, which of course was in their trademark style of black and white. They've been doing black and white photos ever since their engagement photographs. It's become a bit of a trademark. Some people either love the black and white or some people would rather have full colour. Personally, I think they're just two very different things. Black and white is often seen as being more artistic, a little bit more dramatic. So yeah, it depends kind of which style you like. But they have revealed three new photographs, one of themselves as a couple, and Harry is very much, it looks like he's in a very protective kind of pose with Meghan. Meghan's kind of looking down, but giving a really big smile. Harry also has a kind of closed smile on his face. I have no idea what body language experts will make of those. In fact, if I can zoom down, no, I can't. I haven't. I was going to make a separate video on the photographs, but I don't think I haven't got them quite here at the moment. Oh, by the way, my laptop is only on 5%, which I didn't realise. So let me just get my plug and then I will be able to... You can still hear me whilst I'm plugging in. There we go. I just needed my cable. I will plug in and then we will have power. It literally says 5%. I didn't realise I hadn't charged it up overnight. Let's just sort out all the cabling. Right, live chats. Here we go. So yeah, the photograph, that's it. We're all plugged in now. Photograph, very artistic. I just thought a beautiful photo. Meghan was re-wearing, people spotted she was re-wearing the Alexander McQueen trouser suit. You might say pantsuit, we say trouser suit, that she wore for her first official evening engagement as a royal. She was also wearing Diana, Princess of Wales's Tank Cartier watch, which obviously was a gift from Harry, from his portion of the divvied up Diana jewels. And there are still so many pieces that we have that still are yet to be seen, either on Catherine or on Meghan. So we still don't know fully how those jewels have been divvied up. But we do know, obviously, that Meghan has the Cartier tank watch, and this was a 21st birthday present for Diana. So a very important special watch. Diana actually wore it on 2 occasions in 1997. I think one was when she was visiting a Hindu temple, and the other was to a different charity engagement. So she wore it fairly, she wore it throughout her life, and it was a very personal piece to her. As I mentioned, the Alexander McQueen trouser suit, which is actually believed to be specially customed, a one-of-a-kind version for Meghan. So the new picture, as I said, was released to coincide with the news that they will host a special Time 100 talks on the state of our shared digital experience, which obviously is the topic very, very close to Harry and Meghan's hearts, and something of which they have been experiencing over the past couple of years. It's presented in partnership with P&G. I think that stands for Procter and Gamble, if I'm not mistaken. And it's themed around the topic of engineering a better world. Well, we all want a better world, don't we? This special episode is set to reflect the royal couple's focus on building online communities that are more compassionate, safe, and trustworthy. They will also discuss what that means for supporting and accelerating progress on critical issues like gender equality, racial justice, and of course, climate change. And I'm just I've got an article in front of me, I'm just kind of whizzing down. A little bit of information about the Tank Cartier watch. So yes, it was at a Hindu temple that Diana last wore it at, and the British Lung Foundation. Both occasions were in 1997. So Meghan already has her own Tank Cartier watch. Apparently she splurged on it way back in 2015. To celebrate Suits being picked back up for a third season. At the time, Meghan spoke to Hello magazine and she said, "I've always coveted the Cartier French Tank watch. When I found out Suits had been picked up for our third season, which at the time felt like such a milestone, I totally splurged and bought the two-tone version." So she has it in two-tone. I had it engraved on the back to Meghan Markle, from Meghan Markle. And I plan to give it to my daughter one day. There we go. That's what makes pieces special, the connection you have to them. And as we know, she has already debuted quite a few of Diana's pieces. But if you wanted to see a kind of a close-up version of the watch, I think I may be able to kind of zoom in on a photo. So if you want to see the watch on Diana, there we have a picture of the watch on Diana's wrist, which we can just about make out. There we go. So I'm going to go and read the live chat comments and see if we have any questions that need debunking or anything that you want to kind of check if it's true or not true. If I know the answer, I will tell you exactly. Lots of people saying hello, so good hello to you. I think I've explained, Darmally, what the upcoming event, Time 100 talk, is going to be about. Right, Kaneta says, do you honestly think that Harry will return for his talk with the Queen? What talk with the Queen? There is no official talk with the Queen. There is no talk with the Queen. So, but will Harry return to the UK? Well, they're spending a lot of money renting Frogmore Cottage from the Crown Estates. They've already paid back a big hefty sum of refurbishment, all of the refurbishment costs, plus what they spent already on fixtures and fittings. They're paying still market value rent on the property. So will Harry be back? Well, I would have thought so. It'd be pretty pointless spending all that money if they were not going to return. So yes, I do think that they will return at some point, whether separately or together. But it's most likely that Harry will return ahead of Meghan at some point. We don't know when. There's lots of talk about, tax and tax implications of being out of the UK and spending more time in the US, and what tax implications that has, and the fact that he could be running out of time to become tax exempt, so he'd have to return to the UK reasonably soon. But do I think, especially with all the travel restrictions and that kind of thing, possibly not returning anytime soon? We know that they are not going to be returning for the Sandringham Christmas, the Royal Sandringham Christmas. It's not expected that they will anyway. There's been lots of talk about Meghan and Harry wanting to have their first Christmas dinner in Montecito with friends and family, I guess. So no, I don't think they will necessarily be back so soon. However, in terms of a talk with the Queen, there is no necessarily talk with the Queen. If you mean the kind of year in review, that's not even until April, and that doesn't necessarily have to be done person to person. So hopefully I've kind of answered the angle that you wanted. If not, come back and let me know. Damali says, what do you think they have planned for Netflix? Well, there's only two kind of confirmed things at the moment, and we don't know exactly what they're about, but we know one of them's going to be a kids program, and I think the other is a documentary series, but not certainly the rumours were kind of debunked by the Sussexes themselves that they are not going to do a reality TV show. So a spokesperson did come out and say that they weren't going to do a reality TV series. That's not in the pipeline as of yet. But yes, there's only kind of like two kind of confirmed, vaguely confirmed areas in which they're going to be doing things, but we don't have a lot of detail on that. And I would imagine that it's very, very early days in the production of those two projects. But we do know it's a multi-year deal. So they will be producing, I mean, I think the Obamas have produced about four separate projects per year since they've had their deal. I think it's about 4, of which some of them I think they've won awards for. So yeah, a multi-year deal could mean kind of 2 things sort of next year, 3 things next year, maybe 4 if they're kind of up to speed with that, but nothing officially announced that is concrete. D-Gain says, Harry and Meghan want to help create healthier social media communities. Obviously, they have first-hand knowledge of the toxicity. How do you think that they can accomplish that? Okay, I think one of the things to look at when you're looking at social media is, first of all, what role do social media platforms have in policing negativity, toxicity, and fake news? So obviously there's a role for social media platforms to perhaps, police that better, to be deleting things that aren't true. But then you have to counter that with there would be no need to do that if people were not putting it out there in the first place. So I think it's a bit of a two-stage, two-prong attack. Yes, you have to have the social media platforms be responsible, and I think that's where Harry and Meghan are kind of aiming towards. It seems like they want the social media platforms to be quite a bit more harsh in enforcing general guidelines and rules. But in my view, it's also about getting to the point of making people think about what they are putting on social media, so that people aren't putting it on there in the first place, because it's almost like just tackling the social media platforms and their policing of hate speech or whatever it might be is like the whack-a-mole approach, rather than actually tackling what's causing and what's driving all the hate and the negativity and the fake from the source. So to me, it's a two-pronged attack, and I think you need both. I think you need to kind of address the issues as to why people are being toxic in the first place, and making them think about that, having a sense of responsibility about what you put out there in the world. But also, if people do kind of put things out there that really aren't true, that are really negative, that are really toxic, perhaps policing that a bit better as well. So we'll have to wait and see as to how they are going to do that. But that's kind of how I would kind of see it. It's definitely a kind of two-pronged issue, I think. Susan says, I would like to know if you read the tabloids. In terms of having a physical tabloid delivered to my door, like many people still go out and buy a physical paper. No, I do not. There is not one particular paper that I would kind of subscribe to. But in terms of, do I read them to help inform me of what's going on within the royal world. Yes, but again, I don't just read one tabloid, and it's very specific. You know, when I'm reading them, I'm looking for royal stories. I'm looking for Harry and Meghan stories. I'm looking for things that I'm particularly interested in. But I think with a tabloid, and this is what I think most people don't understand if you're not in the UK, most people take tabloids with a pinch of salt. You know that it's a little bit. Well, everything is kind of exaggerated. Everything is sensationalized. And you also know that the different tabloids have different political agendas. So, you know, you will have people who are more towards, you know, the left buying leftist papers. You will have more people towards the right buying rightist papers. So, you know, there's a political element, but also people don't necessarily believe what is put in the British tabloids. We have a saying that what's on the front page one day is chip paper the next. In other words, you know, when it was the days when, you know, bags of chips were wrapped up in newspaper, you know, what's in the tabloids one day is old news, forgotten about, not taken very seriously. So no, I think the way that people look at tabloids, if they're not in this country, is very, very different to the way that we look at them when we're in this country. But personally, I don't have a particular tabloid that I would favour. I look at all of them in connection with work, I suppose. I'm just reading down. Kaneta says, talking about a different YouTuber who will rename nameless. Posted a photo of Harry and Meghan and Walt. Yes, I have seen, not from that YouTuber's channel, but I have seen a picture. I think it was relating to an article that I kind of skim read that was kind of comparing, I think, Harry and Meghan to Wallace and Edward. And I think it was in connection with the Cartier love bracelet. And they were kind of saying that Wallace and Edward had also Edward had bought Wallace Simpson this kind of like chastity bracelet. It's like you can only remove it with a screw. In fact, I think I do have a photo of it. Actually, hang on. Bear with. I'm sure I have a photo of it. Yes, I do. So this is a photograph of the bracelet, which Meghan is believed to have. I think this is the one that we've seen on her wrist. It's called like a chastity bracelet, and you can only remove it with this little gold screwdriver. It's Cartier. So when you buy it, if you're lucky enough to be able to afford a Cartier bracelet, a love bracelet, it's known as, then it comes with a little gold screwdriver that you can. That's the only thing that can remove that. So I think that's possibly why that YouTuber may have been showing those photos, perhaps. Let's have a look. I'm just kind of going up. Damali says some people enjoy Meghan and Harry bashing. Why bring up negative people? Well, hopefully I've not brought up negative people. But yes, I mean, some people enjoy anybody bashing, don't they? We have lots of negative people out there that will enjoy trying to take down whoever they want. And that includes, you know, press and other people as well. We just have those kinds of people out there, unfortunately, don't we? Netta says, some are referring to the talk as trip to the woodshed, so to speak, over his commenting on the US election. Well, I'm not quite sure I'm getting the reference to trip to the woodshed. Maybe that's kind of over my head. So yeah, I mean, again, it depends. Well, I suppose we'll have to wait and see what Harry and Meghan say. Will it be something that could be construed as being political? I've also heard kind of rumours and stories that, well, actually, I think it's more likely someone's opinion, that Meghan might be trying to rein in her political talks because she understands what implication that might have for Harry. I'm not quite sure where that's actually come from. I'm not quite sure what basis that is on, but that is also being put out there in tabloid stories as well, in tabloid land, shall we say. Damali says Meghan's hair has gotten really long. Yeah, it has. It has grown out, definitely. Leslie says Diana's Cartier watch is gold. Meghan's, I think it's classed as two-tone. Well, it's been described as two-tone, so I imagine there could be rose gold, gold, mixed with white gold. I don't know, or silver. But yeah, it's described as two-tone. Lauren says if they did return, would Frogmore just stay empty for years or use? What they usually do when it comes to these kind of big homes that are left empty for a period of time, they normally cover all the furniture and that kind of thing with dust sheets. So the staff go in, they cover all the soft furnishings or wooden furniture with dust sheets. They kind of clean up, and then what's probably happening right now is that property is still being protected. So there will still be a cost in terms of perhaps having one officer, one security officer outside that property at all times to make sure that it is 100% safe and secure. So there will still be a likely cost to the taxpayer in terms of making sure that Frogmore Cottage is safe and secure. So that's probably something that hasn't been spoken about before. But yeah, I mean, it would just stay empty. Obviously, if Harry and Meghan are renting it, which they are, nobody else could use it in that time. So if they're not there, then nobody else is there. It is literally just empty. Unless, of course, they allowed anyone else or permitted someone else to use it. But yeah, it would just remain empty. If they didn't return for years and years and years, then it would be empty for years and years and years. Damali says, do you think if Meghan falls pregnant that they will keep it under wraps until she delivers? Well, I think it would be very difficult to hide a pregnancy past a certain point. But I do think that they would probably keep it as private as possible for as long as possible. But there would obviously come a point where, you show, and then, all secrets are out. But yeah, I think she'll try and keep it under wraps until as long as possible. But who knows? We could see a Beyonce style photo, with all the flowers. I don't know. Maybe we'll have to wait and see. Have I given up my tiara wearing? No, it's just that I'm filming more kind of, I suppose, downstairs. The tiaras are upstairs, and I don't know. I just haven't worn them as much recently, but I haven't given them up. Let's put it that way. D. Gaines says, let me pop these on for a big comment. The Harry meeting with the Queen article didn't make sense. Well, I haven't even seen it or heard of it. So the Queen is 94 years old. She's extremely high risk. He isn't going to get on a flight and then meet with his... No, the Queen is in a bubble. That is something I should have picked up on. The Queen is in a bubble. And nobody, including family members, can just literally enter that bubble. So, if Harry wanted a personal and in-person meeting with the Queen, he would have to self-isolate at Frogmore Cottage or somewhere else for probably getting close on 2 weeks before actually being able to physically meet the Queen. Or you'd have to have a coronavirus test, and then they would have to socially distance. So it isn't just as simple as kind of popping on a plane and going to meet the Queen. But then, in terms of like a big important meeting with the Queen, I'm not entirely sure what they could be talking about. I have heard rumours that the Queen might be, not pleased with Harry and, the fact that they are being perceived as being political. But that will all come out, if indeed that is the case, when it comes to the 12-month review. So, again, I don't think Harry's going to be hopping on a plane anytime soon to go straight to the Queen, at least. Yeah, they could also have meetings by Skype. yeah, or any other kind of communication. The Queen does have access to all of that. Leslie says Meghan has a court date in London in January, so they will be back at the end of December for that. I mean, again, there is scope to be able to do any court appearancey type things via video link. You know, those things do happen, and depending upon what's going on with the current COVID situation, maybe travel will be impossible by then. I mean, here in the UK, we are having lots of kind of local restrictions. We now have a 3-tier system, which is kind of quite complicated, and people are still trying to get to grips with very, very much so. Travel bans may change and different pathways may open or close. So I wouldn't be 100% certain that Harry and Meghan will be back in January. The court case, yes, is there, but there is also technology which would enable them to still take part in that if travel is not possible, or even if they don't necessarily want to travel with everything what's going on. What I'm trying to say is there are options. That doesn't just mean in person. So again, another thing we've got to kind of wait and see. Lauren says the latest picture of Harry and Meghan, Meghan looked stunning. Yeah, looked really happy. Harry kind of had a closed mouth kind of grin. Meghan was kind of looking down, and then, you know, you definitely saw the watch. I mean, the watch was definitely on focus. Joan says, don't you think the Queen would have already let them know that she is unhappy with their behaviour? Again, we do not know exactly what the internal communications are between the monarch and grandson. So again, if anyone's kind of reporting to know that the Queen's done this or said this or done that, we don't know, is the simple answer. So no. But if the Queen was unhappy, I am sure that not necessarily the Queen, maybe somebody from the palace may have communicated an unhappiness. But we do not know that that happened. So, oh, trip to the woodshed means a reprimand. Okay, that's a new one on me. I didn't know that. I've learnt something. Thank you. Right, I'm going down, but I'm trying to not miss any comments. Let me just kind of put this on. Oh, Sean Kay says, I love seeing the photos of Harry and Meghan's home pre-moving. Yeah, I mean, those photos were not new. I mean, I think they were probably taken within the last 5 years. The home was listed on Gigster, so that's where the photos have come from, and they were kind of reposted in the media. So it does show Harry and Meghan's home pre-moving in when it was being rented out. So the home is not being rented out now. Harry and Meghan, we know from their different video conversations, they have decorated and redone things. One thing that I can say, and I definitely commented on in that video, was how dark the chateau, as it is kind of commonly known as, how dark it was. It was dark and dingy and dreary, when actually it didn't need to be, because the windows were huge. There was these really big windows and there was lots of light coming in. So the fact that it was a little bit kind of dingy and dark, to me, said it wasn't necessarily about the house or the design of the house. It was more about the really heavy woods and the kind of dark colours and the clutter. In those photographs, there was so much clutter, and there was things hanging from this, like in the kitchen, all those pots and pans hanging. It wasn't very feng shui, shall we say. It needed an interior designer to come in there and brighten and lighten and whiten everything. The beams, in my opinion, needed a bit of a zhuzh. The walls needed kind of lightening and brightening, and the floors and all that kind of thing. So from what we've seen from Harry and Meghan's backdrops, I think they have done that, which I think it needed. It did actually need it. Lots of people commented on how kind of dark and a bit dreary the interior was before, when, in my opinion, it didn't need to be, because it's a big property. It's got big windows. It's, you know, it's not surrounded by, you know, things that are causing loads of shadows to come on. So I'm glad well, I think it got a bit of a lightening and brightening treatment, because it definitely needed it. Oh, Lisa's just gone and walked her dogs. I'm just trying to go through. Lauren says, I suppose it just depends on the whole situation at the time. Apparently we are due a full lockdown around that time, so we'll probably postpone. Yeah, I mean, no travel can be definite. I mean, anyone making travel plans need to be aware that things can literally just change. So yeah, I mean, unless Harry and Meghan are actually here, I would kind of say that anything could be subject to change at any moment. Susan says, if Meghan hides a pregnancy, she will be accused of buying a doll again. Oh, not the doll talk. The haters will say that she was never pregnant again. Yes, that did happen the first time. Lots of haters did say that it was a fake pregnancy and a fake baby doll, and it was mad. It was absolute madness. Leslie says the tabloids are putting out all these fake news for gullible people to fall for, and to see what sticks. Yeah, they do. They do that, and they do most certainly have their own narratives. I've been talking about that ever since they started with all of this. But not everybody believes it. Let's put it this way, there are not as many gullible people as what you think are out there. Just because it's in the papers doesn't mean that people necessarily believe it. I'm going down. Right, I'm going to go right to the very bottom and kind of read up a little bit, just so I'm kind of keeping up with all of you. Susan says, for a 14,000 square foot home, I thought the kitchen was quite small. I mean, I just think it was dark. I don't necessarily think it was small. It was just dark wood, dark beams, dark floor. It was dark. Everything was dark. It just needed a brighten. Lauren says, I did like the decor on the pictures. Girl. Really? I'm sure it's a bazillion times better now. Let's put it that way. Amphigeo says, although I wish them a happy life out of the UK, if this is what they both want, I insist that Harry would have a brilliant royal career and major military duties in the UK. He deserves it 100%. But anyway, yeah, lots of talk again about Harry's military appointments. There was talk as well about maybe Prince William getting the Royal Marines role that Harry had. I'm not necessarily sure that that will happen. Certainly nothing has been formally put out there of that nature by the palace. William has his own military appointments, and as a future king, William is going to be on top of literally all of the armed services. So I'm not entirely sure that the appointment will be filled by Harry, although it does still need to be filled by William rather, but it does need to be filled. I think more than likely, perhaps Princess Anne, who already has lots of military appointments. Perhaps Princess Anne could be taken, because let's not forget the Royal Marines role was previously held by the Duke of Edinburgh, and I think Prince Philip, if he had, he wanted it to go to Harry, and I think if he was kind of, if he was redistributing that role, I actually think that Princess Anne would be a very, very strong candidate for that role. And don't discount Prince Edward either. But I don't know, in my head, I'm kind of thinking that William's got a lot coming. So I don't necessarily think that William will get that. But again, time will tell. Lisa says, thank you for showing the Sussexes home, as it's helpful thinking about their life now. Yeah, I mean, if ever anyone, for example, broke into the house and took, pictures of it as it is, there's no way that I'd be putting them out there. But these are old. These are old photos. These are definitely not new. But it does give you an indication of the space and what it potentially, looks like now. And like I said, we've seen glimpses of how Harry and Meghan have, decorated. One of the photos, we definitely saw that fireplace, that lovely fireplace with the windows either side. So, we know that they've, made certain changes. And obviously the bird's nest photos behind them as well look really cool. In fact, I really like those bird nest prints. In fact, I think they'd look nice in my home. I would. Maybe I should get some. I don't know. Eileen says, I have a hanger for my pots in my kitchen. Lots of people do, but in that photograph, it looked they had a lot of pots, and it was very heavy. Lisa says, the grounds of their new home make it seem more like an English garden. No. I would say it's more Italianate French. I mean, I know the nickname of the home is the Chateau, and it kind of has that kind of mix between Italianate villa. I know some people have said it's more of a villa than a chateau, but it's definitely in the kind of Italian. I'd say it's kind of like a bit of a blend of Italian and French, and the gardens with the kind of tall cypresses are very, very much kind of Italian, that kind of vibe. We do have those kind of planting in the UK, but I would say it's definitely not traditional kind of cottage garden, British garden. It's definitely more towards the Italian-y, French kind of, European style rather than necessarily a British garden, kind of. But we do have lots of boxed hedges in the UK. That's one thing that is kind of similar. Lauren says, yes, we get a glimpse every now and again. We do. No, I wouldn't necessarily say the garden looks English. Not terribly. Anthony's. Oh, I've read Anthony's comment. There we go. Lulu says, do you think Harry and Meghan are on good terms with anyone within the extended royal family? Again, it's very, very difficult to concretely say one way or the other when, no royal commentator, no royal watcher knows what goes on behind closed doors. But it's kind of a little bit inconceivable to think that Harry would not be on good terms with anybody. Perhaps he's a little bit shaky and ropey with William and maybe Catherine at the moment. Perhaps even a little bit with his own father. We don't know. Although I have also heard reports that that William's relationship with Harry has improved a little bit as well, since there's been a little bit of distance between them. But again, how true that is, we do not know. But certainly if you go back to the Commonwealth Day service, where a lot of people caught some bad vibes, a lot of people caught the bad vibes that were going on, but there certainly wasn't any bad vibes between Edward and Sophie and Harry and Meghan. So I definitely don't think there were any bad vibes there. Edward and Sophie were paying Harry and Meghan quite a lot of attention and speaking to them. So Edward and Sophie, I'm just going on kind of, on visuals, I would say that he's probably on fairly good terms with them. However, that is kind of, Uncle Edward, and they are of a different age group, and but they do obviously now have more of a connection in that they are both fathers. So who knows? Maybe more of a relationship may have developed between Edward and Sophie and Harry. But yeah. I mean, Camilla gets on with pretty much everyone in the royal family, I think. So I think Camilla doesn't necessarily offend anybody these days. So perhaps he's still got a good relationship with Camilla as well. Right, I'm going to go down to the bottom again and see. Lisa says, I look forward to doing my research on English gardens. Theirs is certainly grand. Yes, it's kind of big scale grand. Well established. It's a well established garden. And again, it's unsure as to how many changes they've made, especially in the time frame that they've had. The tea house. Now, I didn't have any photographs of the tea house, but that sounds really interesting because Could be a perfect place to maybe do some yoga or just sit in the garden and kind of admire things. One of the things, if I do end up moving house, the one thing that I really do want is a kind of summer house, which could be described as a tea house. I want a couple of, you know, easy chairs, a little table to enjoy a morning coffee in. So if that's just described as a tea house, then I kind of want one myself. Probably not as grand as Meghan's. I can imagine in a mansion that size, their tea house is a lot better. Leslie Ann says, Meghan loves light colour, so she must have changed all of that. I would imagine so. I would imagine. Because that was just kind of, you know, dark. Susan says, madness is an excellent description. Well, thank you. Oh, by the way, we have 114 people watching. 113. I lost one. What did I do? So if you are enjoying the video and you're finding it useful to just ask me anything, then give it a thumbs up, because we only have 30 thumbs ups. We have 111 watching. And somebody gave me a thumb down. Who are you? Who are you? Make yourself known. Why are you not liking? Anyway, Christine says, it takes time to get your home just the way you want. It does. It does. And we can't expect them literally to have... I mean, look how long Frogmore Cottage took. I know that was a full renovation, but, you know, even decorating, it can take a long time to get things up to speed. They may literally have been so eager to move in that they just kind of moved in, and maybe they did a few principal rooms to begin with in advance maybe, or maybe they're just tackling it kind of room by room. That's kind of what most normal people would do when they move into a house. They kind of tackle room by room, do the key rooms first, the bedroom, the living room, the kitchen, kids' room, that kind of thing. And then you can kind of tackle everything else as and when you can deal with the mess and the disruption, I think, is more of it. Ask you anything. Do I smoke a cigar? No, I do not smoke. I have never even... Fun fact, I have never even touched a cigarette. I don't even mean a lit one. I have never actually physically touched a cigarette, yet alone a cigar. However, I have smelt a cigar, and for some reason the smell of a cigar, I suppose, is rather alluring. But I have never even touched one. Let's put it that way. And yes, smoking is bad. Don't smoke. Lauren says, maybe the previous owner was from the UK, so we know... I don't... Do you really think that's that is not a typical English country garden? It really isn't. Oh, we have 117 watching now. How are the cats? The cats are doing well, and you will find all about the cats in the weekly vlog. If you didn't know, I do a weekly vlog on a different channel, Elliot and Matt's British Life, so do go and check that out. Also, thank you so much for everyone who is a channel member. I know we still have some channel members here on Steps of Sussex, but also on my other platforms as well. If you're a patron on Patreon, thank you so much. That really does help as a creator across all of my channels. So thank you so much if you support beyond watching the videos. Andrea Brown says, if you like the bird's nest prints, here's a link. Ooh. Now, I don't think you're able to post a link, but I will copy the word. Is it mission motive? Mission motive? I will take a peek. I will take a peek later. Lisa says, glad you're feeling better. Yes, I'm feeling a lot better. Less phlegmy, less coffee, a lot better. Do I like fish and chips? Yes. Which British person wouldn't like fish and chips? And I mean the proper British fish and chips. Battered cod or battered haddock or plaice with big, fat, chunky chips that are fried, deep fried and yummy and gorgeous with mushy peas on the side. Yes. What's the picture behind me? It is a Zhu Wang. It's an original print, limited edition Zhu Wang. There we go. Hoping you can see that. There we go. Okay, yes, it's mission motive, apparently. Ooh, I think I've just literally turn the camera up so you can't see me. There we go, that's better. Right, so was there anything else that you really wanted to ask me, that you wanted to get a British person's opinion on, especially a British person who knows a lot about the royal family? That's what I'm here for, to kind of give you that perspective, I suppose. How much does it cost to join Patreon? There are two different tiers. The minimum one is $6.99 and you get access to everything. There is another tier for $20 and you get a personalised birthday card whenever it's your birthday and a personalised photographic and signed Christmas card. But of course you can pledge any amount that you want above the minimum $6.99. All tiers have access to the same things, and I do a patrons only live chat every Thursday. I didn't do one this Thursday because life happened. There was life things going on, but I am back next Thursday doing a patrons only chat. Favourite brand of tea? I like Yorkshire tea. I also like Sainsbury's Red Label tea as well. Mushy peas are amazing. You do, or you curry sauce as well. Maybe that's a northern thing, curry sauce. Right, back to the royals. Andrea says there's been a lot of reports that Harry will be returning to meet with the Queen. I've kind of just spoke about that. Yes, I have spoke about that. As far as I'm aware, there is no official, return and talk with the Queen. There's all the issues of COVID and having the Queen being in a bubble to consider as well. So it would seem a little bit of a hassle to kind of literally just come back and then kind of have to quarantine or have loads of tests and that kind of thing. So if there was to be a chat with the Queen, it could be done over Skype or any other kind of virtual way, I suppose. Oh, you can get Yorkshire tea where you are. Try it, it's really good. I like Yorkshire tea. It's two of the most favourite popular tea brands in the UK is Yorkshire Tea or PG Tips. And, it's kind of debatable which one people like best. Also, lots of, supermarket owned brands are drank as well. And then there are lots of specialist teas as well, or posh teas or whatever. Pauline says, is Prince Harry and Meghan returning to Britain for the court date? Well, I've spoke about that before again, but I'll say it again if you just dropped in. There is no definite. In today's climate, in terms of COVID, any kind of travel, especially that far in advance, you cannot say for certain is going to happen. Things are subject to change. And I imagine Harry and Meghan are working on exactly the same principle. Things can be done virtually, or things can be done in person. I personally think that anything could be done virtually if transport is not possible at the time. Oh, Lisa tried PG Tips a long time ago when you read it was Simon Cowell's favourite. Wow. Andrea says, do you drink PG Tips or Twinings tea? We can't buy Sainsbury's in New York. I like Twinings is okay. Lots of kind of hotels and things do Twinings tea. I like Yorkshire tea or the Sainsbury's Red Label. Those are my favourites. Beverly says Prince Harry embraced Prince William's wife Catherine and made her feel welcome. Why didn't Prince William do the same with Prince Harry's wife Meghan? Well, again, we don't know 100% that didn't actually go on. Yes, we know that William may have had a chat or a conversation or something with Harry to say, look, you haven't known. I mean, we don't know the exact words, but it would have gone something like, look, you haven't known Meghan for long. Are you sure? That kind of thing. And we know, well, there's rumours coming out that maybe Prince William tried to get Diana's brother, Earl Spencer, to have a conversation with William to kind of, maybe slow things down a little bit. We know that Harry didn't take very well to that kind of, perceived interference. Another way of looking at it is that perhaps it was a brother looking after a brother, but it wasn't kind of taken in that way. So we know that happened. We know that was a really big catalyst at the time. Maybe that put seeds in Harry's head that William wasn't in favour of Meghan. In truth, I think it was more likely that just William was looking out for Harry, trying to make sure that he wasn't literally rushing into something for someone that he hadn't known, for as long a time as what William had kind of spent, I suppose, vetting Catherine to make sure that Catherine was kind of suitable to the life and whatever. So William was probably looking at it a little bit blinkered as well, kind of judging how he handled his relationships and trying to kind of put that on Harry. Harry didn't see that as kind of being protective, so you can kind of see how there would have been these tensions that kind of came out. But in terms of making Meghan feel welcome, I think once everyone had accepted that it was what Harry wanted and that Harry did want to proceed, with the engagement and the marriage and everything else, Meghan was actually welcomed more into the royal family fold than any previous royal bride before her, and that is fact. No other royal bride was given a tour of the country before marriage. No other royal bride was announced as, being part of, the royal foundation pre-marriage. I mean, we're talking pre-marriage here that all of this was announced. Meghan was invited to Christmas celebrations. That doesn't normally happen to a royal bride. Everything was kind of sped up and advanced, and there were lots of, kind of unofficial rules broken to kind of welcome Meghan into the family. So I think a lot of these tensions that happened more towards the start of the relationship. I think once everyone had kind of accepted that it was what Harry wanted and that Harry knew what was best for him, the whole family opened up and welcomed Meghan in. We saw that. We saw evidence of that. No other royal bride was given all these different things than what Meghan was. So I think it's not very true to say that she wasn't welcomed into the family. I think there was caution towards the start of the relationship. Meghan wasn't a traditional royal bride. She was from a different country, which was inevitably a different culture. She was an independent woman. She had her own, proper, career, a famous career. She was, a television actress. She was also, in her own right, a humanitarian, doing lots of work, and she'd facilitated change with lots of different causes. She was a fully rounded, self-made woman, which is something that was very, very different to the royal family. Also, I mean, I commented at the time, and I'll say it over and over again, there has been no other royal bride that has come to a marriage in recent royal times that brought as much independent wealth, solely made money than what Meghan did. So, it was a very different proposition for the royal family. I also don't think that the royal family totally grasped, how to deal with situations when they arose. The royal family did stick very, very much with their own tried and tested methods of, never complain, never explain, and that was not going to work for Meghan. How Meghan was interpreting how everything was going, how Harry was, it was never going to work. And I think that the royal family, on balance, could have handled things a little bit differently. When some people ask me, what do I think the royal family could have done or said, I don't know. Stepping out of their comfort zone isn't something that happens very quickly in the royal family. And, what a reaction to everything that happened is something that kind of needed to happen quite quickly, but it's not how they operate. It's not how a big, massive, institution that goes back 1,000 years operates. More often than not, lessons are learnt over time. Things happen and then adjustments are made. And that is the way that it's gone, I suppose. And that's kind of, we are looking at the fallout from all of that now. Lyle says true. Lauren says, I should imagine the Earl Spencer thing may have caused an issue. I believe the relationship is, shall we say, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think perhaps, Harry may have perceived that as a betrayal, William going behind his back. In turn, I think William thought that he was doing the best thing. Not necessarily that William was anti-Meghan. I don't necessarily think William was anti-Meghan. I think, if anything, he was just anti the speed of things and just wanting to make sure that Harry was sure and certain. And, obviously Harry perceived that as being, going behind his back. Maybe Harry perceived that as not liking Meghan as an individual, but I don't necessarily see that myself. Lisa says, I trust the Sussexes to continue creating purpose and meaning in their lives wherever they end up. Yeah, I agree. Faye says, whoever got married first would get the ring. Yeah, when Diana passed away in 97, Harry and William could pick one piece of jewellery to kind of keep immediately as a keepsake. It was Harry that chose the engagement ring, William chose a watch. And obviously, I think that they must have agreed together that whoever got married first would get the ring. So obviously, William ended up with the ring. Andrea Brown says, I pray that in the years to come, both the royals and Meghan and Harry will find a comfortable place to come together as a single family. I just wish the press would stay out of it. I think it's not very helpful when the press and other people on social media really try to kind of pit sides against sides or faction against faction. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I think what the whole family needs is probably the space apart. And in having that space apart, they will have time to heal. A lot of healing needs to be done. And it doesn't help when people are interfering and sticking their oar in where it's really not wanted and trying to kind of whip their audiences or the public up, whether you're a big national newspaper or, a smaller kind of social media outlet. I don't think it helps whipping everything up into a big storm. And really, they just need downtime. They need time apart to heal. One of the things that I don't like is these kind of everlasting feuds that kind of, some people seem to relish and some people really seem to enjoy. I mean, you can tell the social media outlets or newspapers that really enjoy a feud. And I don't. I don't enjoy a family feud as far as I'm concerned. It's much better if you're on friendly terms. Where there were issues can always be worked through. Communication, I think, is key. But also a little bit of time apart to kind of find yourselves, find your own being, come to terms and come to peace with the realities of situations, and then maybe there is an opportunity to come together and reflect and, talk about shared interests and talk about things that you have common ground with, and then kind of rebuild a relationship. And I think that's what needs to happen. But much later down the line, I think, is the coming together and the rebuilding of relationships. And that's what needs to happen. Lauren says, I hope I'm wrong, I really do, but I don't think Harry is happy at all. He looks miserable. Lots of people have interpreted the different photographs or in particular video messages in different ways. And lots of people are going to look at these video messages and pictures and see different things. And that partially could be to, what you're looking at, what you're listening to behind the scenes, that could be playing into your own perceptions of then what you see before you coming out from the Sussexes, if that makes sense. So again, I will say it again, lots of things I'm saying again. Be very, very careful which media outlets, whether it be social media ones or whether it be, big official ones, who you listen to, because they may be projecting their own thoughts and opinions onto you, and then you are, using that to see what they are telling you to see. In other words, it's gaslighting, and I think there is quite a lot of gaslighting going on right now. Stephanie DK says, Harry and Meghan seem to make a continued distinction between royal family and royal institution, regardless of how others try to spin this situation. Yeah, I mean, if what you're trying, if I'm getting your comment right, if what you're trying to say is that there is the family side and then there is the institution side, one of the things that the Queen made perfectly clear is that Harry and Meghan are still a valued member of the family. So most definitely, Harry and Meghan are a valued member of the family. What they've left is the institution of the monarchy. They've left being full-time working royals, but the thing that's different is they still have retained the HRH, which still makes them very much a part of in a way it still makes them part of the institution. And unfortunately, whether anyone likes it or not, what they say, what they do, does have implications back home here in the UK. Being the grandson of a current reigning monarch, in the future will be the son of a reigning monarch. It has their actions, their words, what they're perceived to be being said or doing, does have diplomatic implications. But there is a distinction between the family part and the institution. That is correct. Lauren says it's unfair for people to say the royal family don't like independent women. Hello, the Queen. Yeah, I mean, the Queen is a legend and an icon. And, of course, she has ruled kind of independently ever since her coronation. I agree. I agree with Andrea. I think I read that comment. Damali says, do you think there is a constant clash between tradition and modernity within the royal family? No. I think what generally tends to happen is modernity happens and then the royal family at some point catch up with it. That's kind of the way that it's worked for a very long time. The royal family has never necessarily been ahead of modernity. They've never kind of had that role. But what they do is eventually things catch up whilst retaining tradition and pomp and circumstance and everything that people, that royal watchers tend to like about the royal family is often retained. But it takes a while to find ways of adapting to modernity. So no, I don't think there's a constant clash. I mean, the royal family has adopted technologies. I think the Queen was one of the first, people to, send out officially, tweets, and they've adopted YouTube, and they've got all kinds of different things that they keep up with. But they're never necessarily ahead of the curve. They kind of keep up with it. They're never kind of left behind for that long. So depending on how things kind of go, they kind of catch up with things. It takes a long time to get such a big, long-standing institution. It's kind of like turning a big, massive ship. It takes a while to get going, but eventually things kind of catch up and work out, so to speak. Pauline says, if Prince Harry gave up the ring for his mother to Prince William, what gift did William give Harry for Meghan? Oh, it was the William had the watch, and he gave the watch to Harry. Right. Lisa says, I'd like to think that it might be fun for Harry to experience what it's like to be an American. Well, I'm sure he is currently experiencing that. Right, let's have a little peek. I'm just going to go up. Lauren says, sorry, you can't deny a picture, no smile at all. Well, there was an upturned, closed mouth smile. And actually, if you look at Diana, Harry has the same kind of closed mouth, kind of upturned, a little bit coy smile, the same one that Diana had. So go back and look at Diana photographs, and quite often she had the kind of closed mouth, kind of slightly upturned. I can't do it, but it's more like I can't do it. I can't do the smile, but Harry has the same kind of smile that Diana had. And that could be, again, it goes back to my point of you could be interpreting it because of perhaps who you're listening to. I don't know who you listen to beyond me. Right, let's go down again. Puffy says, I hope he makes up with his brother soon. It's not, no, family fallouts or tensions or whatever it might be are never nice situations. And yeah, I hope they all come together. Francis says, but Diana's eyes sparkled. I'm going to go back and see if I can see the eyes. Is there not a sparkle? Let me go and have a look. I want to see if I can see a sparkle. I think there is a... Do you know why? Do you know why? Do you know what? There is a sparkle, but do you know why? Harry has Charles's eyes. Harry has Charles's eyes. I've said that before and I'll say it again. Definitely, Harry has kind of this portion of face. But Harry has a lot of mannerisms and characteristics of Diana, but that's Charles. Do a cutaway. That's Charles. He has Charles's eyes. Bella says, right, I see pics of him smiling all the time. Exactly. Leslie says, thank you for keeping us up to date. And if it's so true that perception is not always reality, it is, and that is true. Harry and Meghan sell tabloids and clicks, so I fear the press will always antagonise. Bless Harry and Meghan for all they do. I mean, again, it's a balancing act that many royals and celebrities have to kind of balance and juggle, and that is that to a certain degree they need the press and they need the publicity for, you know, their different projects, their different, you know, whether it be personal or private or for charities. They need the publicity often enough. And, you know, back in the day, the only way, I mean, back in Diana's day, the only way of getting your projects out there were through the newspapers. Now it's a little bit more diverse. You know, you can put out your own things a lot more, thank goodness. But still, you know, to reach a wide audience, you know, you rely on, you know, TV networks or still the press. So to kind of, you know, have the attention when you want it and then have it withdrawn when you don't, it's getting that balancing act. Back in Diana's day, she would often tip off the press that she was going to be at this particular place at this time. And if you were here at this time, you would get a photograph of Diana that could make the headlines the next day. It really is this kind of delicate balancing act. And I don't envy sort of celebrities or royals because it's very difficult to get right. Lyle says, give and take a relationship with the press. Well, you know, if you completely shun the press entirely, then you are literally only just relying on your own kind of forms of getting things out there, so to speak. And, you know, still in today's world, it's a lot more than what it was, you know, 15, 20 years ago. You can do more yourself. But I would still say there would be a bit of a gap if you didn't have the press at all. Right. How long? I've been on for 68 minutes. Wow. Bella says, Harry and Meghan were both in their 30s when they met. In your 30s, you know much more of who you are. So if a relative questions a relationship, it could be perceived as lack of respect. I agree. I mean, I do agree. You know, being in my 30s myself, if someone were to say, you know, and question a relationship, I'd be like, well, you know, look, I know my own mind. But then I would have also said the same thing at 18. I would have said, look, I'm 18, I know my mind, blah, blah, blah. I think that William was literally just not necessarily questioning the relationship. I think it could have been anybody. I think if Harry was, taking things quite quickly with anybody, I think William would have had the same reaction. I don't think it's necessarily that it was Meghan. I think Harry could potentially have perceived it as being that it's just Meghan, but I don't think it was. I think it was more to do with the speed of the relationship, the kind of suddenness of it. But yes, I do believe, it is different when you're in your 30s. It's not the same as what you are necessarily when you've got a lot longer to take time. And I think that's probably the angle that Harry was coming from. And I just think there was just a big misstep in communication between the two. And Harry obviously didn't like William's method of doing it, or even going to Earl Spencer to kind of get a little bit of intervention. And that obviously caused all those tensions, and it was most definitely miscommunication, shall we say. Pamela Woodleaf says British Parliament responded to the request to remove titles from Harry and Meghan, and the council responded the title was bestowed on them by the Queen, and only she can take it away. Yes, there was a petition put in. I don't know who it was, but if you get enough signatures, then the petition can be debated in Parliament. So this petition did get enough signatures on it, but it was rejected. It was rejected by the Parliament committee because it's not in Parliament's power to remove the titles. However, there have been a previous occasion in the war where Parliament did actually remove titles, but it was more to do with a specific occasion of the war and people that may have supported Nazi Germany that had titles. And that was obviously signed off by the monarch, and those people had their titles removed. What they were saying is that this is a different situation, and if titles were to be removed, it would have to be instigated and done by the Queen. So what they weren't saying is that they couldn't be taken away, it was more that it would have to be the Queen that did it. However, I do stand by again what I said in a previous video, and that is that it may technically become out of the Queen's hand if what Harry and Meghan are saying with different political things become too much of a diplomatic issue. Then, during the weekly Prime Minister briefings, Parliament, or rather the government, could put pressure on the Queen herself to remove it. And what the Queen usually does is, take the advice of her ministers. She usually takes the advice of her prime ministers. So although technically Parliament cannot instigate it, Parliament, and rather the government of the day, could instigate the Queen to do it on their behalf if they think what Harry and Meghan is saying is diplomatically problematic, shall we say. So the Queen pretty much has to do what Parliament say, or what the government say. So she could have her hand forced even if she doesn't want to. So who knows? Who knows what everything might come to. Leslie says, yes, Harry looks like his father, but more of his mom. Like William looks like his mom, but more of... I can see Diana and Charles in both of them. Harry, this portion of face is definitely Charles, but mannerisms are very Diana. William, the face shape is Diana completely. But then obviously you can see lots of similarities between Prince Edward, and William. They actually look very similar. So genetics is a strange and weird thing. Bella agrees that it's brotherly miscommunication. Yeah. And but you think involving the uncle was too much. Yeah, I mean, it was a big step to take to get somebody else involved in issues, in matters, and it was not taken very well. And that's what I'm trying to say about having that time apart to, assess and evaluate your own role in the downfall of a relationship. Maybe William himself needs time to reflect on what his role in the miscommunication was, and how Harry. I mean, I'm trained in these kind of in restorative justice, is it's called. And if you have children or young people who are fallen out, you get them together eventually, and you work out, you get them to talk and communicate and ask questions and find out how each other felt as regards to why each party took the actions and took the steps and said the words that they said. It's called restorative justice, and that's kind of what they need. But I don't think that they're necessarily ready for that yet. I think they're still at the needing time apart and needing time to come to terms with things first before they do that. Right, okay, I think we've had a really big long catch up, so I think I'm going to leave it here. Again, if this conversation has sparked any real big questions, or if I've kind of missed some of your really important questions in this chat, leave them in a comment at the end of the video, and I will endeavour to answer them in an upcoming video. So if you have enjoyed this Sussex Sunday chat, then please give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to share on social media, and also do hit the bell so that you know whenever I upload a new video. Also, please do remember, of course, to subscribe to the channel. So, from me in Shropshire, mwah to you all, and goodbye, and stay safe.